Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the uh, January 2025 meeting of the Hong Kong Study Circle and Hong Kong Philatelic Society Zoom meeting, sponsored by the Federation of Inter-Asian Philately. Yeah, it's the start of a new series of Zoom meetings, and I hope that the members will have a lot of things to show and tell. Without further ado, and I'm going to show a few Q&As from members. So I can start with the slide. Can you see my slide?
Mhm.
Yeah, you can. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the first item is a cover. I mean, some of you might notice where this is actually from. Is actually a question from John Tang, and this is actually a rather ragged cover. Actually, it's a 1911 local letter with a half Anna OHMS overprint on British India adhesive, originally sent to Lahore in India, and then eventually redirected to Sheffield and then Athlone in Ireland, Irish Republic, which is Southern Ireland in those days. So what is it looks like a bit of a mess, but if you turn it around and see the next slide, well, it's called postage due because it was sent abroad. That's why I don't know about the rates. There may be the half anna is a local rate. But it is certainly on an OHMS envelope, and it's actually sent to the military. So we look at over the back, and then you can see this very interesting and unreported Singapore to Hong Kong single ring marine sorter mark with the index letter 7 dot. There's a 7 dot here. It is, well, as you know, that if you collect the Singapore to Hong Kong marine sorters, it is usually with index A, B, C, D, E, I think F as well, and then never seen the 7 dot before. So is it actually a change from the previous system of using index letters representing either the clerk or the time of the sorting? We don't know. The 7 sounds like either 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. And this marking was struck on the boat, on the P&O boat between Singapore to Hong Kong. So I mean, presumably the clock could do 7 more in the morning or 7 p.m. in the evening, as he liked it. So okay, so this letter actually was sent to Hong Kong first, as you can see from the previous slide. It's actually redirected to somewhere. Where is it? Sheffield, Hong Kong. Yeah, that's right. In red. Okay, it's Hong Kong. Okay, so we redirected to Hong Kong from Lahore, and then it was actually sent back. I think somebody in Hong Kong wrote, "Please forward to I don't know what RFA means. Royal Fusilier?
No, Royal Field Artillery.
Oh, Royal Field Artillery. Okay, Royal Field Artillery. Okay, yes, that's.
And it's the officer commanding, OC's officer commanding.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. So it was somebody probably wrote this in Hong Kong and returned, sent it back by probably, and then he end up somehow. I don't understand why he got the Madras DLO on the back, because that's well, the letter was actually sent in June, and then in July, obviously, it makes sense, and then it went back to Madras in August, and then before going back to Sheffield in the late August. So, but the key point is, I know the cover is probably very interesting, but I think the key point John wants to ask is, have you actually seen this this 7 dot index before? If not, is it a new system they use after the 1911 and after? afterwards. I think this actually the marine sonar system lasted only until about the First World War. I think it's only these are the very late use of the mark, so they could have changed the system. But you actually don't see a lot of these, especially this one. I've never seen before. So, well, food for thoughts for members or viewers if you have seen one, and you can send us a report, okay, or a scan, preferably, if you have a cover with the same or a different, maybe different time or something. I assume it's a time. Okay, so right, next one. Oh, right. Okay. So looking at there's a correspondence from the Russian cruiser Navarin. Actually, this is the picture of the Navarin. The ship was ordered to the Far East in early 1898. It's a Russian battleship, and arrived at Port Arthur on 20th of March. And she took part in the suppression of the Boxer Rebellion in 1900 before returning to the Baltic Fleet in 1901. So several months after the beginning of the Russo-Japanese War in February, as she was sent to relieve the Russian forces blockaded in Port Arthur, and then during the Battle of Tsushima on the Japanese Sea, she was sunk by Japanese destroyers. So that's the brief history of the ship. And you can actually find quite a lot of these. I think these kind of covers have been around for over 20 years, because I first picked up one. Well, not these two, but these two were from a local auction. I first picked up mine at a Stampex, so there must be a UK Stampex. There must be quite some years ago that I bought one. So you can see that this one actually it was sent. Actually, this is sent from St. Petersburg. This is a St. Petersburg concentric circle with a 6. Okay, and it says China. This is Kitai, and China, Shanghai, and this is actually addressed to a council, Russian of the Russian council, on the board of the boat. Okay, and it says, and it actually was redirected from Shanghai to Chifu. Okay, so this is a Shanghai cancel, and this is a Shifu cancel. Okay, so later on, this is the March one. Okay, so in April, another later sending, and this was actually sent to Hong Kong. So you can actually see this is actually Russian, Hong Kong in Russian. So I think the Russian don't have H, so they call this is GK. Okay, it's Hong Kong, and then just to the same person, the same ship, but here is the interesting thing is the Chifu hand stamp in kind of purple, bluish purple. So who actually put this hand stamp on? So it seems to me that, well, of course, it eventually arrived. This is a Russian Shifu cancel. Well, I don't. The auction company actually didn't put any the backside of this cover, but there are more covers that you can actually show the backside. The same correspondence, same Shifu hand stamp, and then of course that you can see that. Well, the one theory is that because of the color similarity of the Russian St. Petersburg cancel and the Shifu, this could have been done by the Russian. But why should? But on the other hand, how would the Russian in St. Petersburg know that the boat actually went to Shifu to put this hand stamp on? And would they have used the English hand stamp? Right. So okay, more covers from the same correspondence. So this one is again the Chifu. You can see the similarity of the St. Petersburg and this color. Okay, and then there's another one actually to Nagasaki, which is much rarer because later on I think the ship was posted to Nagasaki, so it actually says Hong Kong again, and then it was redirected to Nagasaki. So I'm just wondering whether actually. Well, I mean, it's very difficult to tell whether that is the same color. but presumably it looks from the scan is more purple than this is more bluish. But it seems logical that because these were actually sent by, this one is by the Correspondence P&O, and this one actually sent by the French mailboat, so it hasn't got the marine sorter back. And this one's got marine sorter, Singapore and Hong Kong marine sorter back. So it seems logical that the Hong Kong would have known, because it arrived at Hong Kong would have known where the ship was at that time, and then put say hand stamp there and forward it. I don't know. I mean, it's again something to think about. But these are, usually there are maybe 10 or 15 letters maybe from the same correspondence with the similar franking, which is the 10 kopeck is the overseas rate. So this is a double rate letter.
Andrew, is it likely it's actually the consul general who's forwarded them? Because the message says they sent care of him to be forwarded to the ship.
Yeah.
But I suspect he's the one who knows where the ships are and has hand stamps ready to save himself the trouble.
Yeah. You mean the Russian consul in Hong Kong?
Yeah, because it's sent to him on the assumption he'll know where the ship is, and there's a request for letter.
Yes, logical.
To send on. To the
logical,
ship.
Logical, very logical. Yeah. I don't think that, because I don't think that the Hong Kong post office would have these hand stamps in hand, because I mean it doesn't make sense. He would have loads of other places as well. So it's logical that those letters were delivered to the Russian consul in Hong Kong, and then the consul actually forwarded them on. Yes, that is a very interesting comment. Very interesting point. Okay, so we move on to the next one. That's the German boat. See, actually the cancel in question is this one. It's a New Guinea line, the New Guinea branch line, Swatow line, the New Guinea branch line. That a member said, because I mean, compared to these very clear strikes from the main line, the Homfliner, and the Yalut, the Sydney Yalut line, I mean, this actually looks a bit, maybe a bit rubbery or hand stamp. I don't know whether Adrian would want to comment on these.
I'd have to have a look at some of mine, but I see your point.
Yeah. I'm not saying, okay, we may be genuine and maybe not, but would you like to say a few words about these cancels?
No, I'm not a great expert on these ones. So
all right, no. Obviously,
I have a few, but
these, yeah. Okay. Well, obviously, these were sent with the company actually used the German line to send the mail. These got some company chops, and this is actually obviously a cut piece. Both of them, assuming this is genuine, both of them are cut piece of an envelope. So the Deutsche Sea Post actually these were actually applied on board of the ship. So if you look at this, I mean, it's quite possible that one of them is that the 10 cent could have been a late fee or something, and they were actually tossed aboard of the German mail boat before they sail. So and that's why they were cancelled with the German. Usually, the ones that you've got, I know they probably. You will have these Deutsche Sea Post cancel, but they would be on the envelope rather than as a cancel on the stamp. See, none of these stamps have other cancels aside from this the German seaboat, German mailboat cancel. So especially this one, it looks like envelope with nothing but I think they're not extremely rare. I mean, you do see some of them around, some postcards maybe. I recall there are some postcards as well. So my assumption is, if you look at this piece, it's a 40 cents. I mean, it seems that it could be a sort of kind of 10 cent late fee, and the 30 cents postage for triple rate letter to somewhere, to Europe or. So all right, okay. So next one, This one is a classic with a small O and large 3, or the Swatow star cancel. I think I might have. I think some years ago, maybe 3 years ago or something, we might have talked about this during one of these Treeport talks. But this is a weird one. Only occurred with Swatow. The O is very small compared to this one, and there's a 3 there, which is normal size letter if you compare the two. So actually, what happened was, I keep thinking why they have a weird size O, because remember that Swatow in the year 1900, they didn't maybe they didn't have enough 0, so they actually bisected the 8. Into 2 halves, and then used both halves as 0. So we called it a small 0 or for the year. And then this could well be one of the half of 8 actually placed sideways, just to look. It looks like looks a bit weird shape. And it really is it's quite interesting. It's only happened in maybe I don't know. I've never seen any 02 or maybe 03. I mean, this is 03. But of course, having it struck on a 30-cent brown is quite extraordinary, because this is a very difficult stamp used, especially on cover. I think it's a very desirable. But it's quite nice to have the small and large 3. Okay, next one. I'm sure Duncan would like to comment on this one. I mean, I think
I stopped collecting in 1941.
Oh, right. Okay. Right there. They are. Yeah. I think
Sue might have a copy of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a Philippine airline crash. It's a really in a rather terrible state, and in fact you can see the 3 stamps fell off, and then basically it's in a terrible condition, and it has the classic Italian well-known. I mean, if you look at I think in Nick's book or something, you find it there. But I think this actually came up in auction recently, and then I think it didn't really fetch a lot of money. I don't know why, but maybe people missed it, maybe because it was such a bad condition, which should be, But this is quite an interesting cover.
I think it's in such a bad condition because my memory is the aircraft actually stalled and exploded on impact. So.
Yeah, but it's still very collectible as a crash and wreck. Yeah,
I've found a bit of information, Andrew.
The
aircraft's starboard engines both caught fire as it was trying to land.
Yeah.
It exploded before it did so. It was still in the air when it blew up.
Oh wow! Yeah. Okay.
Which is why the mail is in the state it's in.
Yeah.
But I suspect there's quite a lot of mail on board it.
Mm-hmm.
There are certainly 10, 12 different cachets applied.
I think there's probably some of them completely incinerated and it cannot be recovered, probably.
Yeah, they would have been.
Yeah, but this one is in it just looked like it is in such a terrible state that but some of them are remarkably quite well preserved. I don't know why, maybe different bags or something. But this is quite a jolly item if you collect crash and wreck mail.
Yeah.
Okay.
You should send it to KK.
Yeah.
I'm fairly sure he's got one. I think he sent me a copy of one of his.
Oh no! This is not several. This is not ultra rare. I mean, the markings are ultra rare. But I mean, just to see this one of the worst cover of the wreck is quite interesting, and it's from Hong Kong. You can see actually part of well, it says Hong Kong here, but you can see actually some part of the Hong Kong c.d.s there.
The most interesting part of this is the wax hasn't melted.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. The wax seal on the back. Yeah. Okay, so interesting, this one. Okay, now this is actually, I don't know whether it's a new find or not, but I think I don't know whether it's been sold. I've just got this scan from somebody, and it is actually, well, according to our list, the Hong Kong Philatelic Society, still on the website. Actually, we recorded 17 letters, and this is not there. It's not on the list. But the thing is, I remember there is a very doubtful cover actually addressed to the Philippines, but not this one, but from a similar correspondence with a similar style handwriting. But this one seems quite odd to me. But okay, this is genuine. This is from a genuine cover. And if you look at it, it's hard to believe that this is fake because it's so quite well done. But of course, you need to see the actual cover before you say anything. But the thing is, if you look at the postal history of it, it seems very odd because he's got the Correo Maritimo. This is a Macao ship marking. So it was actually sent from, well, obviously from Shanghai, via Macau to Manila. It seemed that this paid the Hong Kong thing. This paid mark is Hong Kong mark. So can you think of a possible route? And he went down to Macau, so received this, and he went to Hong Kong, and then he went to Manila. So, but this 8 actually is very strange. I mean, it looks like some of these things done by the French, the style, and it looks like in a Chinese ink brush. Which, if he's obviously it's a paid letter, because he's got this mark on. So why should the 8 be? Well, if it's a ship letter, it should be in red and not black. It's very strange. I mean, it could be a complete fake. The whole thing is a fake. and then this halo marking, which is very unusual in fact for both marking. They have a halo around simulating kind of oily ink spreading out. Very
greasy ink.
Yeah. In fact, both of them affected. So
greasy typing.
Yeah. Struck at a different place. I mean, which is very unusual. I'm not a Macau expert. I don't know whether this is actually genuine. Yeah, but this is certainly something that if you, if it's genuine, I mean, you have this is a six-figure sum cover with the Shanghai Paid mark. I think
it's an unpaid one. Somebody's trotted up.
Yeah, that's right. Where's the indication that it has been paid? You see, from Shanghai.
Yeah,
it's lots of unknowns and things. So one wonders whether this thing is genuine. Anyway, that's why I put a question mark here. So anyway, you need to see the actual thing before you need to actually think that you need to compare. Obviously, if this is a fake, I mean, it's a very good fake. But it's quite possible nowadays with computer technology, just to reproduce this mark. But postal history doesn't seem correct to me. Anyhow, right. So IPO type prints, as you all know, these are the various IPO type prints from different towns, different cities in China. And the IPO type prints were used to tie foreign adhesives to the envelope stuck by the Chinese post office. Okay, so to prevent pilferage of the foreign adhesives. Okay, so of course at that time China was not a member of the UPU, so they actually could not actually send letters using Chinese stamps abroad. That was actually before some of the postal treaties started in about, Richard probably tell me, in 1901 the French have started the postal treaty, so one would not need any foreign adhesives on it. And then later on, the British were quite late. So and the IPO actually existed well into 1901 or 02, something like that. So this is all 99. This 1900. This is 1899. Okay, with IPO. Okay, so they usually is tying the adhesive, tying the stamp to the envelope. Okay, so very rarely actually you see the complete IPO on the stamp. So here we are. There are some offers from a certain internet sales, and you can see all these IPOs, which seems a little bit dodgy.
They don't look right, do they?
This is 06, very late use of IPOs, and it's very easy. I mean, web's got all these on a page, and then you can actually photocopy it and make a chop out of it. And, but these all seem very dodgy to me. So this is especially 04, very late date. But it's a nice stamp, as I say, 30 cent brown. But, it doesn't make sense that none of these actually tie the stamp to the cover.
They don't tie the stamp to the.
No.
Yeah. Right. So that is, but all of them sold. It's obviously, but it's interesting. It's not terribly difficult actually to reproduce these chops as a fake, and especially this one, the middle one on the $1, it looks quite terrible to me. The ink seems very watery. I mean, it's not the if you look back, and if you look back, these ink are very quite solid, quite sort of like not like ink pad, these are looks like ink pad, from ink pad rather than from those printers ink using an organic solvent like kerosene or something like that. It looks like where you get ink, red or blue ink pad. Right. Okay. So I think that's all for me here. Yeah. So it's quite interesting. So I said, it's people waiting in the waiting room. Right. Okay. So any comments? Or if no more, and we'll go to the next presenter. Okay, right, fine. So maybe Adrian, you want to share something?
Okay. How do I share screen here?
Right, I'll stop sharing. Okay, so there's lots of people turning on.
Share.
Right, let me just stop. I forgot. Yeah, I stopped. Yeah, okay, that's right. Let's stop sharing.
Okay. You can hear me, okay?
Yeah.
So I've got a few things. The first one is a Jubilee, another sort of slight Jubilee aberration. It's not one that's been recorded, but it's interesting. The stamp is position 10. It shows all those minor varieties in position 10, apart from one that's obscured by the postmark. Position 10, you can't tell which printing they come from. So in that sense, it's one of the less interesting positions. And this one doesn't have what Gurevich says indicates the 7th printing, nor is it, it's also the 22nd. So there's no question of it being the one printing that Gurevich says can be distinguished. The interesting bit is that the B looks completely broken at the top. And the E is odd in that the top bar protrudes to the left. And the middle bar is broken and has a nick to the side. Now, I have to a less extent seen these E varieties on other copies, so I don't think it's just a one-off aberration of the printing. I've not seen this B anywhere else. Most of the Bs I've seen on position 10 are perfect. I have one with a series of different faults that may or may not be due to printing. So I suppose my question is, if anyone has blocks that can be identified as a particular printing with position 10 in them, I'd be interested in seeing them. There's one coming up in auction in a week or two that's definitely third printing, and it's a perfect B. So yeah, just keep an eye out. I don't know if anyone has any blocks with position 10. Anyway, interesting little little aberration. Next is, this is definite. So the reversed watermark, Webb noted, well, it was shown on all the 1863 stamps, except the 4-cent, the 30-cent, which has since been identified in the 96-cent values. Gurevich does note the reversed watermark on the 4-cent, but he leaves out inverted and reversed that is listed in Gibbons. So I don't know if that's just a typo and that Gurevich meant inverted and reversed. Stanley Gibbons doesn't list reversed, but this copy I bought in auction as something else. Was a bit surprised when I looked at it. It does now have a BPA certificate, and so they will be alerting Stanley Gibbons for inclusion in the next catalogue update. So I think it's a find. Certainly not in the catalogue. Perhaps surprising that the 4-cent didn't have just reversed, because it was relatively common value. So yeah, subject to what Mr. Gurevich says, I think that's probably a find. I don't know, has anyone else seen any of these?
Yeah, as you say, they're not. Well, they're not common, but they're not exceedingly rare, I would say. You do from time to time come across these watermark varieties, and probably quite a lot of used ones. But if you have a mass of these used stamps with B62, when you put them, you probably wouldn't bother to actually check each one the watermark. But sometimes you do get you do have a find.
And there are some countries where collectors just didn't bother with watermarks. Germany, for instance, they didn't really bother with them. So if you buy a German collection, you could well find watermark varieties.
That's right.
Unheralded.
Especially it's got a nice postmark, interesting postmark on. You probably wouldn't also check for whether it's inverted watermark or
yes.
But in my experience, reversed is a lot scarcer than inverted watermarks.
Yeah. True. That's true.
Yeah, I found a CC over crown watermark in a German lot that I bought not long ago. No one had pointed out.
When the whole sheet of paper is shifted.
Yeah.
It must have been.
I think they're quite scarce.
Yeah, the CC over crown,
So anyway, something new for Stanley Gibbons' catalogue next time it comes around. And finally, just a German naval postmarks.
Mm.
I've started collecting. This isn't all of the ones I've got, but German battleships and their troop carriers carried their own post offices. Webb doesn't mention them, which is unusual, perhaps because, of course, they weren't being sent to the UK. They were being sent to Germany. They hadn't got many in the UK. So I think it's a sort of slightly unknown part of Hong Kong postal history, because many of these were sent in Hong Kong when the ships were in Hong Kong. You have to use both the date and the number of the marine shift postmark in combination to work out which ship it is.
Mm-hmm.
This particular one's from the SS Cologne, named after Cologne, the city. And she was in Hong Kong at the time, so it's a matter then of looking in the Hong Kong newspaper archive to see where the ship was at that time, once you've worked out which ship it is. It started in about 1895, went through till the First World War, and German Navy continued to do it after that, but I'm not aware of Far Eastern ones after that. They will. I do have a list. It's from a German publication of ships and dates for the German East Asiatic fleet up to the First World War. So they will all have been used in China, but not necessarily all have been used in Hong Kong. Not all of them visited Hong Kong. So here's a selection of different types of cover that you find. So this one is an ordinary postcard of Hong Kong. It comes from the SS Dresden, which, like the Colne, was a Norddeutscher Lloyd ship chartered for troops for the Boxer campaign. This one, the Dresden, did stop in Hong Kong. They were largely free post, so feld post. Now this postcard has had feld post added in that top left corner to say it should be free. But this was posted in Hong Kong, and you can very often the person sending it actually put where they were and the date. It seemed to be a German habit to put date and place at the top of their correspondence. This one's in this one already says Hong Kong Harbour on it, so maybe didn't bother. The Dresden. Here is an extract from the Hong Kong Daily Press of 3rd September 1900, saying that Dresden arrived along with the Hal. And that I thought what was interesting was that during the day, men swarmed all over the city, their glaring yellow uniforms and big straw hats, attracting much attention and comment. Both transports left yesterday, so they're only there for a matter of days. That's a picture of the Dresden. Next is the Weissenberg, which was one of Germany's most up-to-date battleships. So she visited Hong Kong for an overhaul just towards the end of the Boxer campaign. And here is a feld postcard. So this is the standard German forces postcard. And you can see that it's been addressed from the Weissenberg in Hong Kong on that date, which from the Hong Kong Daily Press, we know she was there. Next is a large cruiser. Now, she was the Hansa was a permanent part of the East Asia Squadron, at least until 1906. So she actually took part in the early parts of the campaign, providing men for the Seymour expedition, which wasn't very successful. It wasn't successful in relieving the embassies. And she took some casualties. So the Hansa, having been in the Far East for so long, these covers are a bit more plentiful. I've seen 3 postcards or postal stationery, pieces of Hong Kong postal stationery used on this ship. So this is 1, 4 cent on 3 cent. This actually is a standard postcard, but with a Hong Kong stamp. I think it's the only Hong Kong stamp I've seen on one of these. I have seen a report of another. So those are the basic forms, really. Hong Kong postal stationery. You can get a Hong Kong stamp, or either an official postcard or a postcard that has been an ordinary postcard that's been used but as free post. And that's it. I do have a number of other covers. If anyone's interested and has any of these, I'd certainly be interested in trying to see which of the ships were in Hong Kong and when. I suppose I could go through all the newspaper archive, but unfortunately the Telegraph is the best, and there's a big chunk missing of the Telegraph archive, because that tells you where all the ships were at any point in time.
Where do you get the information of the number? You said that there's number on the cancel.
Yes, so the number relates to the ship at a particular point in time.
Yeah.
So some of these numbers were used by multiple ships, and some ships use different numbers at different times.
Okay.
I've got the information from a German publication
okay.
from 1968.
All right.
There is also a list on the internet, which is not complete. But the German publication's dates aren't all correct either. But I do have a very long list of all the ships that were in Asia in the German Navy from 1895.
So there is published information on the.
There is published
information. You check out which boats. Which ship?
I came across that list by accident. I bought a lot in auction, and it came with the lot.
Oh, lucky you!
I've not seen it on the internet. I've not seen it anywhere.
Adrian, this is an excellent presentation on a very little known subject. Would you consider putting it as a monograph on the Hong Kong Service Circle website?
Yeah, I would, yes. I have a few more of these different ships.
Yeah, because that's very interesting, and it is not known, so it would be accessible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could publish the list.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, very good.
Examples.
Adrian. Adrian, I have 1 or 2 of these markings on covers, and I'll send you scans when I can find them. And I know John Wilson has a number of them. He's quite interested in marine and military postal history, naval postal history. And I know he has a number of these. I'll see if I can get him to send them to you too. But I know for mine, I have one that goes to Trieste. And it's got one of those German cancellations on the Hong Kong adhesive as well as a German adhesive. It's a very strange one, but I'll send it to you and you can
Oh, that'd be great.
see if it fits into your story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions before we go on to Vincent, who has one item to show?
I will try and stop sharing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, very interesting subject, but I think there's a lack of at least information in English published.
Yes. All the publications are in German.
Which somehow actually stop people from collecting and identifying the right. Good.
Yes, because the writing's not easy to read either.
That's right. Okay.
Right, have I stopped sharing?
No.
Your screen?
No.
It's paused. Stop share. There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, so I think Vincent, it's your turn.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get that started up. I got something there. Okay. Can you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just have one cover I was going to show. This is it's going to be an 1845 cover from Macao to London that went via India, but has an unusual routing once it hits India. So, oops, what happened to let's see. Sorry about that. My scroll isn't advancing this thing here. You know what? I may have to go back to the, sorry about that, guys. Let me just close this. I'm going to start the share again and pull it up again here from the actual file. Let's see. I'm going to try it anyway.
Vince, you have to have the file open before you share.
Oh, okay. 1 second. Then let me, oh, I just passed it, it looked like. Okay. Well, I wanted to do, I'll just keep it open this way. Can you see this?
You're not sharing right now.
I'm not sharing right now. Okay, let me, not doing a good job here. Let's see.
Take your time.
Right. We've all struggled at some point or other with this.
Yeah, and we're not going anywhere.
Okay.
So if you want to start the slideshow, I got a hint for you. Don't go to the top. Put your cursor right down to the very bottom towards the right side. The bottom of the PowerPoint. Yeah, okay. Now you see there's a bunch of little icons. And there's one that looks like a TV screen. Yeah, click that one. That'll start the slideshow.
Okay, you know, the problem was when I was using the scroll to move to advance the slides, it wasn't working. So I think I'll just use it like this, if you don't mind. And can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So let me get through this then. I just wanted to go really quickly through the currency since it's going through India, and then I'll get to the cover. But most of you guys probably know this, but just in case, you know, 1 rupee was 16 annas, and 1 anna was 12 pies for the Indian currency, because there's a part there where we discuss the Indian currency. Okay, so this is the cover. It was docketed 18 May 1845. You could see that the sender was sending it via Bombay. And often these covers would have been sent to Calcutta or to Madras, but on the western side of India rather than all the way to Bombay. And this is, of course, just before the P&O packet started. This is May, and the packet didn't start till a little bit later, 2-3 months later. So via Bombay and then via Marseille, and of course we know the very famous or well-known firm of Frederick Huth and Company was the recipient. We have the Bombay Oval showing that it was it entered the Indian postal stream in Bombay. This was intended for overland mail. We have after the fact, there's a docketing up here of NP and Company, and I'll get to that later. And then these were the enclosures. There were 3 enclosures, it looks like, and the rate was 4 shillings and 6 pence. Now, the rate is interesting here because this is the correct rate from India, but normally you would expect at this time the rate from the Far East to be 5 shillings, 2 pence. Okay, it's interesting because there's no markings on this to indicate it came out of Macau, Hong Kong, China, whatever, right? There's no markings on the cover at all. Nothing to indicate it was handled by the Hong Kong post office, the Macau post office, whatever. Okay, so there's nothing there. But in reading about the rates, it seems that the rate going through India, the additional 4 pence per rate that was charged if East India Company ships were used for further onward transit. And as we're going to see, that's not the case in this particular cover. So this cover actually got to Bombay, and then rather than being sent out on the East India Company steamer, like was normal, they actually sent it back across to Madras. And you can see the endorsement here, or the instruction here, via Madras and Suez per steamer. They sent it all the way back across India to Madras to catch the P&O steamer. Okay, so and you could see this is the routing it would have taken to get back to Madras. So that's really an unusual routing of it. Now, just showing more of the cover here, you can see the Bombay. We have a paid hand stamp. The date here is the month's hard to see here, but basically paid 1 rupee and 9 annas, and that will come into play later. The 4 shillings 6 pence that I mentioned was the rate for 3/4 to 1 ounce. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then we come over here with the docketing on the back, and we see that NP and Company is Nai Parkin and Company. And Nai Parkin operated in Canton and in Macau. It was founded by Gideon Nye in 1843. And Gideon Nye came to China in 1831. He worked in a number of different companies. He was involved in the tea and silk trade. He was an American. And he spent about 50 years of his life in Canton. And he was, for the last 10 years of his life, he was the American vice consul in Canton. But at the time this letter was mailed, he was actually resident in Macau. And I was able to find a directory. It was called the Anglo-Chinese Calendar for the year 1845. And it definitely places him as living in Macau at that time when the letter was mailed. And so we see the docketing here, Macau, 18 May, and received 24 September in London. Okay, and that's the London receiving mark. And if we go further, we can see the Madras chop here. This is 1845, August 10th. This is when it reached Macau. Madras, this hand stamp was used only on steam letters. So it further confirms that this went by a steamer, not by a sailing ship. Okay, so the thing that really got me interested in this cover initially was it's uncommon to go from Bombay to Madras. It's much more common to go the other direction. But what was happening is in 1843 and 1844, with the summer monsoon, the East India Company's steamers were really underpowered, and they had trouble fighting the monsoon and getting to their destination in time for the connection for the to go overland and on their way to London. So the post office decided to set up a special express, and that special express started in May of 1845. Okay, and I'm thinking, God, could this be a special express cover? That's the initial thought I had in my mind. Well, unfortunately, it's not an express cover, and here are the requirements for special express. First, it has to be marked as express, and they could carry letters up to 2 tolas. Tolas was a measure of weight, which was about 0.4 of an ounce. Okay, and the postage rates for the special express going, via Madras. Going from Bombay to Madras, the rates included the inland postage, but was like 1 rupee for half a tola and 2 rupees for half to 1 tola, and then 5 rupees for 1 to 2 tolas. Okay. So again, remember our cover is 3/4 to 1 ounce based on the packet rate. So that would have placed it somewhere up here where it should have paid 5 rupees, for exceeding 2 tolas. But it only paid the 1 rupee 9 annas. So it didn't meet the requirements in terms of what was paid, and it wasn't marked express. And so unfortunately, the bottom line is it went by local mail, the normal inland mail. And I say unfortunately because only 2 express covers are recorded from Bombay going to Madras. Now, it's still uncommon, though. I haven't seen many going even by regular mail from Bombay to Madras. It's just still a very uncommon routing, and one that one normally wouldn't expect. So kind of putting it all together, our letter left China based on what I could determine, the 22nd of May, and it went to Anjer, which is on the west coast of Java, and it got there 24th of June. Okay, and it only reached Bombay 20th of July. It went per the opium clipper Anna Eliza. Took 59 days, which is really a long time. But apparently, the Anna Eliza was sailing against the southwest monsoon. That was at least part of the reason it was delayed. Whether it made additional stops in other places, I don't know. How long it stayed in Anjer, I'm not sure either. But in any event, it certainly took its time getting to Bombay. But once it was in Bombay, got to Madras on the 10th, and then it was sent from Madras on the 16th to Gal, Aden, Suez on the 8th, and this was by the P&O precursor, and then Alexandria to Malta after it had gone overland. Alexandria to Malta per Oriental, Malta Marseille by HMS Locust, and then arrived in London the 24th of September. So the steam part of the voyage all the way to London via Marseille was 39 days, but all together was 125 days, really a very, very lengthy voyage at that time. So conclusion is that basically it wasn't an express cover, but still uncommon. And it's the only one originating in the Far East I've seen rerouted that way from Bombay to Madras to catch the P&O steamer. There may be others, but it's the only one I've seen. So that's it. Any questions?
Very interesting. So how much faster would if one were to mail a letter via the express service? And what?
Yeah, the express. It was 759 miles from Bombay to Madras, and it was taken by runner. I believe it took 3 days. But I can check that.
So it's actually is somebody actually running? Well, sort of.
It was
walking on foot.
At this point in time, it was still runners. And they would have like teams of runners. They would call it the DAC or DOC. In the parlance of the time, and it was teams of runners, and they would actually carry it by foot, and so forth. Now later, of course, they had trains and so forth, but at this point,
no horse or horseback or anything.
Not that I'm aware of.
As far or donkeys or whatever.
Not that I'm aware of. What I've seen is teams of runners being stated. In the literature. So
that is
so that's at any rate. I think it's sometimes we focus on the material in Hong Kong, but sometimes it might actually, or China, Macau, whatever, but actually may represent something important to another area of interest.
Yeah, sure.
And so for Macau, this maybe wasn't so interesting, but for India, it is interesting. So just one way of looking at it.
Indeed. Right. Thank you very much. Any questions?
Yep.
Just a very cool cover with some great research there, Vince.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Right. Okay. Thank you. No more questions. Engel, you've got something to show?
Unfortunately, no. Haven't gotten anything together.
Right. Okay. Well, then we move on to Richard, who has.
啱到 Richard 啊，啱到 Richard，我就想聽下 Richard 講乜。係啊。
Hi there. Let's see if my technology skills have declined or improved. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can we see this?
Okay. Yeah, good.
Okay. Please don't fall asleep during this. This is good stuff. A couple of weeks ago, I received a WhatsApp message, as I sometimes do, from John Tang. And he and B.M. Wong were sitting in Hong Kong trying to work out these two covers. What they asked me what was the rate for sending letters to French Indochina by Zelee, which was a trial flight in 1932. So you can see from these two covers, one going to Saigon, and one Ninh, which is through Hanoi. It's about 70 miles southeast of Hanoi, and they have different rates. The bottom one has 40 cents and the top one has 20 cents. So I thought, oh, right, well, let's see what we can find out. And I got more and more complicated as I looked at it. And anyway, the story so far is what I'm presenting today. And I promised that BM and John that I would do so today. So happy to do that. First of all, though, thank you to everybody who helped provide stuff for my education on this and all the scans and so on, which are quite a lot. So thank you very much to everyone. So let's get let's get started anyway by just going through a very short history of what was going on at that time. The French were very interested in the route through into Hong Kong and China, as was most other countries. But in this case, the first milestone that they achieved, which was quite commendable, was the inauguration of a service between Saigon and Marseille in early 1931. The service was inaugurated from Marseille in January 1931, and the cover at the top left came from there. It departed on the 17th of January, and it was flown into Saigon by Maurice Nogue. I think Philippe can correct my appalling French. He brought it on one of their planes, the Joyeuse, shown at the bottom left, and this guy was a World War I ace, i.e. top pilot in the French Air Force. And after he left, he worked with Air Orient and rose from being a pilot, in this case, to ultimately being a director, as we'll see shortly. Anyway, he then turned the plane round and headed back to Damascus, where he had started. And it left on the 4th of February, and 12 days later, the mails arrived in Marseille. The next milestone, from a Hong Kong perspective, was a trial mail organized by the Postmaster General. I think this is quite commonly known, which went on steamer Athos II, departing on the 7th of June 1932. So things, although they're frustratingly slow, according to the people at the time, was relatively quick. And this service, there were only about 15 covers, was essentially a private arrangement organized by the Postmaster General, but not mail through the post office, because there are no post office Hong Kong markings. Only the Yokohama Marseille c.d.s, which were applied on board Athos II. And in this case, the 20 cents in KG5 adhesive was for the surface mail, and the air supplement or premium was paid in French francs, French Indochina currency, excuse me. The next thing, of course, was the start of the regular mail by General Metzinger, and there were about 450 covers or cards sent on this. Over 300 of them went to London, including this one, which carried on through to Limerick in Ireland. The next milestone, and the one that we're concentrating on here, I guess, was the Zelee flights from Saigon to Hong Kong and back. These are two photographs of the Zelee, which is a Fokker monoplane. This type of plane was used by KLM. In fact, I think a number of the French ones were obtained from KLM. And this happened in November 1932. So that's a bit of background, which hopefully some of which we all know. So the best way for me to explain this is to go sort of back to front, really, and deal with the Zelee outgoing flight details, i.e. from Hong Kong. And it left Hong Kong on the 5th of November to Hanoi, where it got stuck because of engine trouble. And it didn't get to Saigon until the 8th of November, and that was too late for the 6th of November main service to Marseille, so it missed it and was held until the one on the 13th. This caused quite a bit of drama in the circles of Hong Kong, but that's actually what happened. The details there are, you can check, there were 853 covers recorded as being sent on this, 191 of which were to French Indochina. It also carried 2 close banks from Canton. We'll come to that a bit later. So coming back to BM Wong and John Tang's question, the rates for sending letters by this mail were advertised as per the right-hand side. And at the bottom of there, you can see that there's a special airmail closing sent to Saigon, hoping for the 6th of November, which it missed, as I just said. And the rates of airmail premium, which were to be added to the surface rate to wherever you were sending your letter, would be the same as previously used for the Saigon-Marseilles service. And this, you can see them there. The Hong Kong surface rate to British Empire was 12 cents per ounce via Suez. And for other countries, which included French Indochina, was 20 cents for the first ounce and 10 cents thereafter. But most airmail, virtually all airmail, would be within 1 ounce. The airmail premiums were as advertised, but the table did not include any airmail rate to French Indochina. Obviously, this was the first such flight, and it was organized in just a few days. When the Zelee arrived in Hong Kong, they weren't sure whether there would be an airmail or not. So it was all done in a bit of a rush. So the post office's notice just said, well, you pay the airmail premium plus the surface rate. So it's not totally specific, shall we say. So what was the postage paid? Going back, we saw two covers with 40 cents and 20 cents paid, but there were 191 covers that were recorded at the time sent to Indochina, and I've studied, thanks to all, 32 out of these. So it's quite a reasonable percentage. And with my old legal background, if you strictly interpret the PO notice, you could conclude that if I'm in Hong Kong and I post anything to anywhere in Indochina, as long as it's under 1 ounce, I pay 20 cents and I don't pay any airmail supplement because it was 0 on the notice. And the Hong Kong Post Office accepted mail, including the one shown here, in accordance with that conclusion. But there are anomalies, as with all things in life. Anyway, starting with our old friends Grasser and Company, who were arguably the main stamp dealers and so on, postal history dealers in Hong Kong at that time. They sent loads of covers by Zelee. I have 14 or so of these to Tonkin, which is essentially, not these days, in the 60s was still North Vietnam. And all of these covers, which went to Haiphong, which is 70 miles east of Hanoi, they're all unloaded in Hanoi on the 5th of November. Lao Cai is near the Chinese border, which is about 150 k north of Hanoi, and then Ninh Binh, which is 70 odd miles southeast, excuse me. All of these were rated 20 cents, as we just relayed. And here's some more to a very interesting gentleman in Ninh Binh, in Tonkin province. All again, all 20 cents. Yeah, unfortunately, I've never seen one of these Grasser covers to what his mailing list in Saigon. So if anybody's got those, that would be brilliant. Oops. So there are a few anomalies. For example, the top cover and the left-hand cover were addressed to Mr. Sholo in Hanoi, and with 35 cents paid. And it was accepted by the Hong Kong Post Office, and the one at the bottom right was sent to Saigon with the same postage paid. So the surface rate was 20 cents, so they paid an extra 15 cents. Well, why would they do that? Well, as I said, there was a bit of confusion around what, if any, airmail premium should be paid. And presumably this 15 cents was added in to cover that aspect. And here we have a similar calculation. These are two registered covers, both to the same person eventually, from the same senders, Yu Li Yun, and one to Hanoi and one to Saigon. And they're both 55 cents, which with the 20 cents registration and 20 cents surface gives you this surplus 15 cents. The numbering on the registration labels, obviously there are more of these covers floating around, and I do have another one with number 706, which was sent to Manchester, correctly paid. To Saigon, most covers went at 20 cents, which seems cool. The bottom two are from Monsieur Ganet. He was a passenger on the plane. He was one of the top people in the Bank of Indochina in Saigon. So here it was just 20 cents. But again, there are anomalies. This one's paid 40 cents. So there was 20 cents extra, so-called extra, paid. So why? Maybe that was the airmail premium, or later we might find some other reason. And then there are a whole series of covers to Waldhausen in Saigon, again paying 20 cents, presumably for the airmail premium. But the sender of these, presumably himself, sent at least 2 covers to Belgium, and these were correctly rated $1.55, and they're posted at the same time. So it wasn't completely random that he put 40 cents on his covers to Saigon. So just thinking about summarizing these outgoing ones, we have these different arrangements. To Hanoi, 20 cents, and then we have some of those 35-cent ones, which could be 15 cents added premium. Bear in mind that on the PO notice, the minimum is 15 cents to Siam for airmail premium. Then to Saigon, we again have 20 cents, the principal amount numbers going at 20 cents, no problem. And then we have again these 35-cent ones, same sender or certainly addressee as the Hanoi one, and then the 40-cent ones we've just seen. And the extra 20 cents could be the airmail premium, just a stab at that, which seems rather unlikely. But there was also the question of what, if any, airmail postage for the flight between Hanoi and Saigon. And it's possible that that also could have featured in this additional 20 cents. We'll come to that in a moment. Now, that deals with the outgoing. The incoming from details are, of course, the crew and passengers and so on, same. And this starts getting interesting because Zelee departed on the 30th of October from Saigon and arrived in Hanoi, overnight in Saigon, refueled at Fort Bayard, and arrived later in the 31st of October in Canton. And then it departed Canton on the 2nd of November and arrived Hong Kong round about lunchtime. During the stay in Canton, the 2 of the gentlemen who were employed by Air Orient discussed matters with Chinese authorities with regard to establishing a proper air service through their airspace. But the incoming mail, the Zelee arrived on the 2nd, but you'll find that all of the mail is date stamped the 1st. And in fact, it did not come on the Zelee. It was sent by steamer from Canton the day before. I think, as Michael Caine used to, or probably still does say, not too many people know that. So this is, usually it's assumed it came on the Zelee, but it didn't. For Hanoi, covers that were loaded in Hanoi on La Zelee include this one back from our friend in Ninh Binh to Grasser and Company in Hong Kong, 15 cents. These are in French Indochina currency. And that was the surface rate. So this was in line with how the Hong Kong authorities were dealing with the mail. This one he sent to China, same guy, with 25 cents. I think that was the surface rate, but I'm not 100% sure. I've sort of done this all in a bit of a rush. Then we have the usual anomalies. There's this cover sent to Mr. Moss, or Flight Lieutenant Moss, as he was then, who was the superintendent at Kai Tak Aerodrome, and sent to Kowloon. Nice postman beat chop, you can see. And the Hong Kong Type M arrival stamp in red, but the Kowloon one in black, not red. And it was 25 cents, was 15 cents the surface, and 10 cents. So maybe just some confusion. From Saigon, then virtually all of the covers from Saigon are understandable in terms of rates. So this one was sent with 40 cents in adhesives. It's 15 cents. And then it had 10 cents added on, it seems, for airmail postage between Saigon and Hanoi, and 15 cents registration. And this one did not have the red c.d.s arrival. It had black registered c.d.s. Here we have other covers, either 25 cents or 40 cents, in line with what I've just said. Let's speed up a little bit. The red marking here was marking applied by a checking clerk, presumably, that the letter, had been correctly paid with the right postage. So with this stamp, we know that 25 cents was correct. And we can see it was addressed to Mr. Noak, who was on the plane, now a World War I ace. So the 25 cents was 15 cents plus 10 cents domestic airmail postage. I'll deal with the 10 cents a little more, and then the registered one similar. Here is another one, 25 cents, so fine. Again with to Kowloon with a nice postman beats, Peninsula Hotel, red arrival and black Kowloon. And again, it has the verification chop for correct postage. And a couple of covers are known to Fort Bayard. And Fort Bayard is in Indochina, of course. And so the sender being the wireless operator on the Zelee, he obviously sent them to various places they were going to call at. I think there must have been a change of plan, because they did not refuel at Fort Bayard on the way back. So this one was sent by surface from Hong Kong. And here he's just paying 10 cents plus 15 cents, which was the express mail premium. So this one went at 10 cents domestic. Then another one from our friend to our friend in Ninh, I should say, from Saigon. Again, this is 25 cents registered So this also had a 10-cent domestic airmail. But this one, what did not go on the Zelee, it went the following month. But I believe that the Air Orient had planes going around to Burma and so on, doing all sorts of checks on flights and possibilities. So that's this cover may have gone. So the incoming covers into Hong Kong, basically fairly straightforward in that there was a 10-cent domestic airmail postage between Saigon and Hanoi for covers from Saigon, and then from Hanoi it was just the surface as with Hong Kong stuff. So as with all things, then of course they're not 100% watertight, but we can, I think, conclude that the postage rate from Hong Kong to French Indochina destinations by La Salle was 20 cents, i.e. just the surface rate, and that the other additional postages paid were a confusion over possible applicability of airmail premiums or the airmail postage between Hanoi and Saigon. And then for the other way around, from French Indochina, from Hanoi, quite clearly 15 cents, which was surface rate only. And then from Saigon, add on the 10-cent domestic airmail postage. So that hopefully is not sent you too far to sleep. A couple of extras, which I just noticed while I was doing this morning. Here is our friend in Nam Dinh, again, appearing on this experimental flights between Saigon and Hanoi in May 1929. These were part of a series by CAF, the predecessor of Air Orient, trying to establish again routes into Hong Kong. But here he obviously was quite well known, and so on. And this one was also, excuse me. And then we have another one, which on the way out of Indochina to Hong Kong, sent from him. Bombay is in Tonkin province and was the last stop before going off to Fort Bayard and then to Hong Kong. This experimental mail perhaps for another day, but I just thought you'd be interested seeing this guy appearing here, there, and everywhere. Top right is an explanation by the pilot, Tixier. So that's about it, really. Just thank you, everyone, again for your time. One last thing. That's it from me, and nothing more this year with my Chinese hat on. And Happy New Year in advance for 2025. I will spend Chinese New Year with Elvis in Memphis. So I'm looking forward to that. Not in person, by the way.
Richard, could you go back, please, 4 or 5 frame? I would like to show something on one cover.
Yeah, okay, just a moment. And Kung Hei Fat Choi, and with the big emphasis on Fat Choi. A lot of Fat Choi for everybody, please. Okay, let's see what we can do for... Which one was it?
It was, okay, keep going. No, there is one cover addressed to Mr. Maurice Nogues. So not this one. No.
Yep.
No.
Yeah.
Not
Yes,
this one.
yes, yes. Okay. Maurice Noguès is a very famous French aviator, and it is famous to the point that there is an adhesive, a French adhesive, which has been issued to him with his image. And the line, the Indochina line by Air France going from Paris to Hong Kong with many stops was called the line Noguès. So
Yes.
this cover is very important.
Yeah, and I have another one. Not only this one, it's the same.
Good.
Same one.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation.
No problem. Anything else?
Fascinating.
Richard, the thing that puzzles me about all of this is that this domestic rate within Indochina, because Air Orient at that time did not operate domestic flights within Indochina. The only flights I could find listed were operated by the French military. So is that rate for domestic airmail carried by the French military between Saigon and Hanoi? Because I found a range of flights by them, but nothing by Air Orient.
No, I think I think Air Orient in the latter half of 1932 were carrying out various trials using La Zelee, not only to Hong Kong, to Rangoon.
Yeah, but Rangoon's on the normal routing from Indochina through Rangoon, Akyab, Calcutta,
but I think
across India.
I think what they had in mind was making Hanoi the main base, and then having a feeder through Vientiane down to Saigon. I think that was ultimately their idea. So they were trying stuff out of Hanoi. But I'm with you. I mean, I'm no expert at all in the sort of domestic stuff there, but it just seems that the body of evidence suggests that there was a 10-cent fee for that leg of this flight.
Richard, one thing that I found curious was on those first few 20-cent covers, the 20-cent rate composition of using a bunch of low-value stamps to make up 20 instead of using just a single 20-cent definitive.
Yeah, but they were all from Grasser.
Okay, the philatelic.
So I think that was the reason.
Make them look pretty to sell them.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if anybody's got one of these into Saigon, because clearly Grasser would know what they were doing, otherwise they'd be losing whatever. And they got everything correct, even the ones to Switzerland, Paris, London, and all the ones into Indochina. But I haven't seen one from them to anyone on their mail list in Saigon. It's a shame. I will search. Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll relieve you of my screen. Cool.
Well, it's a very good start to 2025, and I hope that the following meetings will be something like that. There's so much stuff to be digested, and we've sorry that we've come to the end of the meeting, and I just hope that from the next meeting we will have far more interesting and more stuff to discuss. So,
Andrew,
yes,
I did have something to show. I can
oh,
hold it
you
till
did,
next time.
sorry,
I did tell
yes.
you.
I did. I forgot. Yeah, sorry, Duncan. Yes.
Well, I'll leave it till next time if you want.
No. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. Well, we've got time. We've got time. Yes. Sorry. Let's please share.
Compared with what you've seen so far today, this is very simple. The rates are all right and the routes are not in debate. But I have sort of got quite a lot of peripheral material, particularly wartime transit mail through Hong Kong. And this is a small group of covers from the Dutch East Indies to the USA and one coming in the opposite direction. And they took advantage of initially of the fact that in August 1938, Air France was allowed to carry mail into Hong Kong for the first time. The first flight arrived on the 10th of August in Hong Kong, and it inspired the Dutch East Indies Company, KNILM, a subsidiary of KLM, to begin a service of their own from Batavia to Saigon, which operated on the 30th of August for the first time in 1938. But it did mean when war broke out, then it was possible to send mail from the Dutch East Indies to Saigon and then on to Hong Kong by the French service to join Pan Am's Trans-Pacific service. And this is a typical cover. The rate was straightforward, 15 cents for 20 grams as the UPU surface rate, and then 90 cents per 5 grams for an air fee. If you are going to collect these, then I do look for some proof that it's actually gone through Hong Kong, because mail could also be sent to Manila to join the Pan Am service. And if it doesn't have Hong Kong markings on, then I tend to steer clear of it. But in this case, it's got all you want. It's got a Saigon transit, a Hong Kong arrival on the 13th of December, and then things started to go wrong because there was some very bad weather in the Pacific. As a consequence, the cover didn't leave Hong Kong until the 19th of December. And even then, the China Clipper only flew as far as Manila. And there it picked up stranded mail and passengers and brought them back to Hong Kong. So the cover sat in Manila until the 24th of December, when it left for San Francisco and finally arrived on the 30th of December, not what the sender would have expected. This worked rather more smoothly in 1940. Posted on the 4th of March, next day to Saigon, 6th of March into Hong Kong, and 8th of March out on the Philippines Clipper. Same franking as before, so no problems, no difficulties with that. Again, a fairly straightforward one. This time the Hong Kong censor has looked at it, but he hasn't opened it. He's passed it unopened. A good connection. Again, it reached Saigon on the 14th, was forwarded to Hong Kong the next day, which is what the Hong Kong Council shows. And it proves it wasn't flown by Imperial Airways. The Imperial Airways feeder service from Bangkok, one arrived on the 13th of May, one arrived on the 17th of May. So even though there isn't a Saigon transit, it's for sure went via that routing. By May 1940, with the Germans invading the Netherlands, the Dutch got a lot keener on censorship, and this time it has been censored within the Dutch East Indies. It doesn't seem to have delayed it for too long, because it got to Hong Kong on the 6th of June, or it's backstamped on the 6th of June. It's flown out on the 11th. But this time it's a double weight item. The 2 meter impressions on the cover work out, shows it's Freight at one guild and 95 cents, so 15 cents per 20 grams surface and 2 times the 90-cent air fee. Again, censored by the Dutch authorities. But this is a fun couple of covers. They're the last two ones I'm showing you. In this case, the cover left Hong Kong on the 28th of June on the China Clipper, which only flew it as far as Midway, because in Midway there was a damaged California Clipper. It had hit a reef head when it was landing there whilst operating the westbound service. So the China Clipper picked up the passengers and mail from Midway and flew them back to Manila. The California Clipper was patched up enough to operate back to San Francisco, where full repairs could be carried out. So this carried this cover back to San Francisco with it and arrived on the 6th of July. Quite coincidentally, I acquired another cover, this time going from the USA into the Dutch East Indies. It was actually on board the California Clipper when it hit the reef head at Midway. So it's one of the covers that was transferred to the China Clipper to be flown back to Hong Kong. It flew it to Manila, the Philippines Clipper carried it on to Hong Kong, and then it was forwarded by Imperial Airways, or BOAC as it's become then. This flew it to Bangkok, and I don't know for sure how it got from Bangkok to the Dutch East Indies. The two possibilities were by the Dutch airline to Batavia, or by the BOAC routing en route to Australia, which landed at Surabaya. I think it's probably by the Dutch line, but I cannot prove it. It is correctly franked at the 70-some cents rate for Trans-Pacific mail. It also included onwards air transmission from Hong Kong to the 70 cents rating. Passed by the Hong Kong censor, but opened by the Dutch censor. So a few little covers from a sideline.
Nice Prexy cover.
Sorry?
Nice Prexy cover, that US origin one. The that presidential definitive series of the 1930s to 40s is a very beloved issue with very interesting postal history, and you got a 70-cent rate there. That's nice.
Yeah. I do have quite a lot of covers actually going into Australia that were sent for onwards air transmission to Hong Kong. They're all out of Ted Proud's junk stuff that he didn't think were worth selling to property collectors, but those who like the cheap things enjoy them.
Thank you. Fascinating. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Duncan.
Hey, Andrew.
Yes.
I just want to make a correction. I looked up real quick on the express mail. It took about, at that time in the 1840s, it took about 7 days by the runners. And when you think about 759 miles, I mean, it would take a while. Yeah. But the later expresses that used trains, at least in part, because the trains were not necessarily, there'd be certain sections completed and some parts not completed. At that point in time, it was like 3 to 4 days. Yeah. That'd be in the late 1860s or so. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Just to correct that.
All right. Well, maybe next time you show us some express covers from a different source or something.
Well, I have express covers going west to east.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody I've left out? No? Charles, you want to say something? Or you want to leave it until next time? Next time.
Next time.
Next time. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, in which case, as Chinese New Year's coming in about a fortnight, I wish everybody the same, Richard. To wish you happy Chinese New Year and Kong Hei Fat Choi. And I noticed that the the president of FIAP, Dr. Prakop, is with us this evening. Would Dr. Prakop want to say a few words?
Okay, good evening all, Dr. Andrews and everyone. Good evening. Nice presentation. Like everyone has mentioned earlier, Chinese New Year is coming up. So, Kong Hee Fa Choi and Xin Jie Yui Xin Ni Hua Chai. Happy Chinese New Year to everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. I learned a lot.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Prakop. And well, I think that's all for this month's meeting. And I shall be seeing you next time. And well, have a very good morning, afternoon, and evening. And enjoy yourself. Basically, collecting. I hope you find more stuff at shows and auctions or whatever your sources are. Okay, thank you very much for joining.
Bye.
I'll see you next time.
Gong hei fa choi, everybody.
Gong hei fa choi. Gong hei fa choi, everybody. Gong hei fa choi, everybody.
See
Okay.
you.
See you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.